Tricking on the matador. I don't wanna beat it. You can fake that until you grow a new mouth to say I ain't no watch until I go. Oh yeah, I'm alright. Do you feel sick? My stomach hates that. Wakes up in a taste of the truth. If I'm alright, you love feel sick. Pour me a taste better when you swallow the truth. If you were fighting vain to religion, then will you fake that? Will you fake that? Go ahead and sell yourself when it roll. Now I finally see it. You can recognize, you can make it. If that skin is uncomfortable, brother should have skin there to bear my. When I am the man. If you fake it, you might make it existed for years. Then hell, go. Now that I'm mature enough to feel dead, we'll stop, we go fuck until we're enough. 1, 2, 1, now! Oh yeah, I'm alright. Do you feel sick? My stomach hates it. Wakes up in a taste of the truth. And I'm alright. Do you feel sick? Really your taste better when you swallow the truth. No! Drove a house into the cloud and took the wind. I let you fade all your blood away for you. When they say, when they go, I will say, no, when they say, when they go, I will say, no. Oh yeah, I'm alright. Do you feel sick? My stomach hates it. Wakes up in a taste of the truth. When I'm alright. Do you feel sick? Well, give me a taste better when you swallow the truth.
Returning with Let Live, being back on stage after 8 years, kind of felt like it felt like it never happened. Like the distance, the gap, the time, and between us, obviously, synergistically, energetically, of course. But I think really, primarily, it's the people, and the fact that Let Live is able to return is because of the people, and the fact that we felt as though there was a space for us is because of the people. So Let Live has always existed and continued to exist and will always exist because of the people. So as long as they're there, I think we can be too.
The first show is super surreal for me because it had been the first real show I've played in a long time. And we had so much support from close friends, and it was just an emotional show. Just seeing all the fans for the first time in a long time, it was just a special moment.
It felt like we never stopped. I think it's just this sense of autopilot that's kind of ingrained into you. It was, honestly, it didn't feel like we stopped at all. We got on stage and just did it. We wrote the set list out in minutes. We got on and just did what we did. I don't think there was a lot of thought. It was pretty crazy. Honestly, yeah, it was just like getting up and walking again.
Big your name, yes I wear that. never satisfied. Why do we scream at each other? This is what it sounds like when the doves cry. That was the first time. That was good. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And to love on the sides of rappers, on the rap. Here in the sun, there's only 15 minutes of fun. We can live, we can move. When I will never be ugly, believe me so well. We can live, we can move. Here in the sun, there's only 15 minutes of fun. We can live, we can move. When I will never be ugly, believe me so. We can live, we can move. And why? Yeah, we can. I'll burn up.
For me to return to these songs and compositions, it's a sort of like a forced requirement in order to return to that era of, you know, my emotional self and observe where I was. But I think that when I say that, like, I'm actually able to observe where I was and what I mean by that is I don't have to engage with it in a way where I put myself back in the position. So it's more observational, not necessarily like a spectator, but I am able to view these songs in a way where I feel like the person I had hoped to be, I'm getting closer to that person now. Perhaps maybe it's not as quickly as I would have hoped, but nonetheless, like, I am engaging with these songs now as a more healed and competent version of that person. Whereas when I was writing the songs, I feared that I may never get there, right? And I think that that's a pretty interesting and challenging experience when, you know, when playing these songs. But I think that's the whole point of art. It's like a reflection, and whether it's on yourself or of yourself or to society or to someone you love or someone you abhor. You know, I think it's offering a reflection of how you feel and then being able to return back to it and sort of chronicle your journey. And I'm pretty impressed with the way that we've all been able to return to these songs as the people we are today. It's pretty impressive.
Wasting away. You're making love. Demons with no one's here. What they've done, but I don't care. No, I don't care. That was the smack on my widow gets jealous. What's at the top? The one storytellers and luck. Pulling my chair. Wonder me. Well, it seems like the average man has brought it to the limit again. When it feels like my eager hands are searching for me to escape. Now don't mock me by dissing my ambition. Went from handsome as hell, ugly as dead, but I don't care. Why should I care? Fuck making love, I'd rather make history. But for my defense, over the kiss of the wild, pulling the rod. Wonder me. Again. When it feels like my eager hands are searching for me to escape. They say home is where the heart is. So where do you keep your bed? And if love is where the heart is, then what do I do with this blood? Well, I'm wasted. Why? Wasted. Why? Never, ever fucking you back. Now I know.
You know, admittedly, I find it quite a shame that Good Morning America is still as relevant as it was when I wrote it 10 years ago almost. And you know, that's not to say that it's any one person or group's fault, but it is begging, you know, the question, what are we doing? You know, like what are we doing as a progressive alternative group? What are we doing as a society? What are we doing as a culture that is very aware of the shortcomings of the apparatus, whether that be our government, whether that be other socially constructed boundaries and barriers that we're supposed to adhere to. You know, we know this is happening. We've known. I am not the first and unfortunately not the last to write about it. You can go back for centuries and find very similar musings and lamenting on this system. And you know, I think what I've learned over time, being in flux from like a really radical and militant sense of revolution or change to a more compassionate and wider scope of understanding when trying to achieve that revolution, I personally need to find a way where I don't seem as pedantic or as, you know, like I'm preaching. You know, that's kind of where I'm at with it all, and trying to understand the other side. I put that in quotes, like just other parts of the argument or the discussion or the instance. And that's where I'm at now. So while it is a shame that these things are still as relevant, I do think that there is an avenue that we've yet to explore. And since this is the noise, I will speak directly to the alternative self-proclamation of a progressive scene. Like there are other avenues and we can definitely explore them, and we should, but it really starts with us, like as a scene. And I think there's a lot of weird infighting and egoic, status-related issues that we're seeing that affect our ability to do more for the larger society. So,
for me personally, it's always about unity and bringing our culture back together and kind of, you know, hoping to re-engage this sense of substance in humans in general. I think that's important for people to engage in love and substance and connection, because I think we've been in a world of such divide, and we continue to reside in a world of such divide. And there's so many things that are, you know, being placed right in front of our faces, and I hope that Let Live can be, you know, our community or our movement can, you know, assist in helping people realize what is happening in front of you and the things that you should really invest in mentally, emotionally, physically. We have one life to live, and it's finding the importance of what you want to be a part of and don't want to be a part of, in a sense, you know? But I think love is one of the strongest assets that we have here in this world, and I think it's something that a lot of people take for granted. And so I hope that we can re-engage that asset and bring people together in our community and our movement. And for me, I think a personal mission for me is always to give love, share, help, heal, and never ask for anything in return. And maybe the strongest tool that I was ever blessed with in my life is music, and being able to reach a broader audience in this world.
For me, I think it's remained kind of similar to what I thought it was when we initially started, which is a mission of uplifting humanity, even if it's just sonically or visually. So if we can take one step each day to achieving that, I feel like I'm achieving my mission in life, personally.
So different now, are we? Said the cop to the killer inside of me. I've heard your story, boy, and that shit gets old. We got the right to Wait for that boy, just a poor man's words. Well, I think you better take a step down off that course. So that shoe don't fit you comfortably. Then you're better off cutting off both your feet. Cause if you try to stand up, might look too tall. The bigger they are, the better view we get to watch them fall. So
Ain't no city like the one I'm from. That one time got me Banshee. Hands up high when I don't get shot.
that everybody's listening. Will you? I'm just a math again, call math again, bye. But you're a say, hard to see when you don't understand it all. That everybody's listening. Will you? I'm just a math again, call math again, bye. But you're a say, hard to see when you don't understand it all. That everybody's listening. Will you? I touch the math again, call math again, bye. But you're saying hard to see when you don't understand it all. That everybody's listening. Will you? I touch the math again, call math again, bye. But you're saying hard to see when you don't understand it all.
Sick. I was on my seat.